Imagine walking into a hotel every single morning, exhausted and underpaid, bending down to scrub floors until your hands bleed, and instead of gratitude, you're mocked, ignored, or treated as if you don't even exist. Now imagine that the same girl they mocked and pushed around was secretly the daughter of the billionaire who owned the entire hotel chain, and that one phone call from her would bring the entire corrupt system crashing down. This is not just a story about revenge. It's about justice, power, and what happens when the one you underestimate turns out to be the one holding all the cards. Stick around till the end because the twist will leave you speechless. And before we begin, hit that subscribe button because you don't want to miss stories that shock, inspire, and flip the script on everything you thought you knew. Layla Johnson adjusted the stiff gray cleaning uniform that never quite fit her right and walked into the Empire Grand Hotel, Manhattan's crown jewel of luxury. To everyone else, she was just another cleaner, 20-something, dark-skinned, hair pulled back into a bun, pushing a cart of supplies down endless marble corridors. But what no one knew was that Layla wasn't there for a paycheck. She was there on a mission. Her father, Charles Johnson, was one of the wealthiest black CEOs in America, the man who had built the Empire Grand chain from the ground up. He suspected that something was deeply wrong inside the walls of his flagship hotel. Guests complaining of poor treatment, workers quitting in frustration, and rumors of corruption spreading like wildfire. Charles could have sent auditors or managers, but Layla convinced him otherwise. "Let me see it from the ground," she said. "Let me live it. People will never show their true faces to the CEO, but they'll show them to the cleaner." And so she entered the hotel as an undercover worker, stripped of her name, her identity, and her privilege, just another girl in a uniform. From day one. The staff made sure she knew her place. Supervisors barked orders, managers sneered when she walked past, and some of the senior cleaners dumped their workload onto her shoulders. Guests didn't even bother looking at her when they made demands, and one arrogant manager named Victoria, who strutted around in designer heels, went out of her way to belittle her. "You're new? Don't screw this up. I'll be watching. You," she said on Layla's first day, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. Layla kept her head down, observing everything. She noticed how staff pocketed money meant for supplies, how they cut corners when cleaning guest rooms, and worst of all, how they treated certain employees differently. Those who were immigrants, black, or simply quieter were bullied relentlessly. At night, when Layla returned to her apartment, she wrote everything down in a hidden journal. She wanted evidence. Still, what shocked her most wasn't the corruption. It was the cruelty. She watched a young dishwasher named Daniel get screamed at by the head chef until his hands trembled so badly he almost dropped a tray of dishes. She watched a front desk clerk named Aisha cry in the bathroom after Victoria humiliated her in front of guests. And every time Layla tried to step in, she was reminded of her position: invisible, powerless, voiceless. But deep inside, her anger grew. They had no idea who she really was. They had no idea what kind of power she could unleash. Weeks passed, and Layla became a silent witness to the hotel's poisonous culture. The staff gossiped, managers schemed, and supervisors exploited workers for personal gain. Layla began to see how systematic the problem was. It wasn't just one or two bad apples. It was an entire network of arrogance feeding off the lower ranks. The breaking point came on a Saturday night when the hotel hosted one of its grand galas, a glittering event where Manhattan's elite dined under crystal chandeliers. Layla had been assigned to the cleaning crew for the ballroom. Hours before the guests arrived, she was scrubbing the floor on her knees when Victoria walked in, smirking. "You missed a spot," she said, pointing at a floor tile with her high heel. Layla had already cleaned it twice. "Do it again!" Victoria snapped, loud enough that other staff laughed. During the gala itself, Layla was ordered to stand by the bathrooms, cleaning constantly as women in gowns and men in tuxedos brushed past her like she was invisible. But she wasn't invisible to everyone. A group of young waiters began mocking. Her making crude jokes, one of them whispering, "Bet she doesn't even speak English properly." Another laughed and dropped an empty glass in front of her, forcing her to clean it up as if she were their servant. Layla swallowed her pride and did it. But the moment that broke her came later in the night. A wine glass was spilled on the floor near the VIP section, and Victoria, in front of wealthy guests, snapped her fingers at Layla like she was a dog. "Cleaner, girl! On your knees now!" Gasps came from a few kind-hearted guests, but most ignored it. Layla bent down, cleaning as laughter echoed around her. She kept her face calm, but her hands trembled with rage. Nobody there knew that. The girl kneeling on the floor was the rightful heiress to the hotel empire, watching her family's reputation be shredded by the very staff meant to uphold it. That night, Layla didn't just write in her journal. She called her father. "Dad," she said, her voice steady despite the storm inside her, "you were right. It's worse than we imagined. But I'm not ready yet. I want to gather more. I want them to hang themselves with their own rope." Charles hesitated, but he trusted his daughter's instincts. And so Layla stayed, enduring humiliation after humiliation, while secretly recording conversations, gathering documents, and building the case that would one day shatter the Empire Grand from within. It all came to a head when Layla discovered the staff's dirtiest secret. The hotel had been embezzling money, millions skimmed off through fake invoices, stolen supplies, and overcharging guests while pocketing the difference. At the center of it all was Victoria, the glamorous manager who strutted around like she owned the place. One afternoon, Layla was cleaning the manager's office when she overheard Victoria on the phone. "Relax. The CEO never comes here. We run this place. By the time anyone notices, we'll all be rich." Layla's heart raced. She snapped photos of the invoices left carelessly on the desk, capturing proof of fraud. But Victoria walked in suddenly, catching Layla with the papers in her hand. The room froze. "What are you doing in here?" Victoria demanded, her eyes narrowing. Layla stammered an excuse, but Victoria wasn't buying it. Within minutes, Layla was dragged before the hotel's board of supervisors. They accused her of theft, of snooping where she didn't belong. "You cleaners are all the same," one sneered. "You think you can climb above your station." Victoria pushed for her to be fired on the spot. In front of everyone, Layla was humiliated, stripped of her badge, and told never to set foot in the Empire Grand again. But instead of breaking her, this betrayal sparked the storm. Layla walked out of the hotel silently, but the next morning, she stood in her penthouse suite on the 70th floor of another Empire Grand property, dialed a secure number, and said 5 words that would change everything. "Dad, it's time. Fire them!" Charles Johnson didn't hesitate. Within hours, a team of investigators and lawyers stormed the Manhattan Hotel. Staff were pulled aside, files confiscated, computers seized. Victoria tried to flee, but she was caught on camera, trying to shred documents. The entire management team was suspended pending investigation. News outlets swarmed outside as rumors spread that the Empire Grand was imploding. And at the center of it all, Layla prepared to reveal her true identity. The following week, the staff of the Empire Grand were summoned to the ballroom. The same. One where Layla had once been forced to scrub the floor on her knees. This time, she walked in not as a cleaner, but as the daughter of the billionaire CEO, dressed in an elegant black suit that commanded silence the moment she entered. Gasps echoed through the crowd as workers recognized her. "That's the cleaner." "Girl," someone whispered. Victoria's face drained of color. Layla stepped onto the stage beside her father, who placed a proud hand on her shoulder. "For weeks, you all thought my daughter was beneath you," Charles said, his voice carrying through the stunned room. "You mocked her, humiliated her, and treated her as less than human. But she is the heir to this empire, and she has shown me the rot within this hotel." Layla then spoke, her voice clear and steady. "I came here to see how you treated people when you thought no one was watching. What I saw broke my heart. The cruelty, the corruption, the greed. You forgot what this hotel was built on. Respect and excellence. Instead, you built an empire of arrogance. Well, that ends today. And then she made the call. In front of everyone, Layla dialed the head of human resources and gave a simple order. Terminate every single manager and supervisor involved, effective immediately. Screams of protest filled the room. Victoria fell to her knees, begging, "Please, you can't do this." Layla stared at her coldly. "You once snapped your fingers at me like I was a dog. Now watch me snap mine." She snapped her fingers, and security escorted Victoria and the others out. The entire corrupt staff was wiped clean in a single day. News headlines exploded. Black CEO's daughter exposes corruption in luxury hotel. Undercover cleaner heiress fires entire staff. Guests applauded the move. Employees who had suffered for years finally smiled in relief, and the Empire Grand began rebuilding with a new promise: dignity for every worker. As for Layla, she stood taller than ever, no longer invisible. She had proven not only to her father but to herself that power means nothing if it's not used to protect those beneath you. And with just one phone call, she had changed everything.